After her defeat by the Galactic Corporation at the Battle of Canis Major, the Dark Queen and her renegade space troops retreat to the outer reaches of the universe, hiding out in the dark space between the stars. Meanwhile, on board the spaceship Vulture, Professor T-Bird and the Battletoads, Flash, Zitz, and Pimple are escorting the Princess Angelica back to her home planet, where her father, the Terran Emperor, awaits her safe arrival. Along the way, Pimple, the biggest Battletoad, takes Angelica out for a cruise in the Toadster to a nearby leisure station. So there's the situation, Toad. The Dark Queen's kidnapped the Princess Angelica and your best buddy Pimple. What are you gonna do about it? Professor Bird's gonna set you down on Ragnarok, but from there it's up to you. You've got a long way to go. Toad, through ice and fire and nightmares so terrible you don't even want to imagine them, through a monstrous Gargantus and ultimately the Tower of Shadows, that's where you'll find the Dark Queen. Have you got the guts, Toad? We'll soon see, one way or another. Welcome to the 6th episode of Retrotopia. My name is Brian, and with me is the Rash to my Zitz, Sam. Today we'll be talking about the classic NES beat-em-up Battletoads. But before I let Sam talk, we'll pause here to listen to arguably a top 10 pause music moment. Just great. Anyway, Sam, what's been in your system this week?
Well, first of all, I don't know if I'd prefer Rash or Zitz, so both are equally gross, but I'll take Zitz.
Well,
or no, you're Zitz, I'm Rash. Oh, that's that's worse.
It's just great. It's a great way to talk about my rear end.
Yeah. Well, what my rear end too, right?
Yes, of course. You're a Rash, I'm Zitz. Together, we're gross.
Yeah. Not too much going on this week. Just a lot of busy at work at the day job and just busy with life in general, I guess. My middle daughter just turned 7.
Oh, happy birthday.
We had a birthday party, and it was first grader, kindergartner pandemonium.
Nothing beats a bunch of first graders in the house.
Yeah. It was we had it at a trampoline place. So that was just trying to figure out where your kids are. And they're jumping, but it's are they hurting themselves?
Yeah, trampoline parks scare the crap out of me with watching my kid jump on them. He's all rubber bones or whatever, and he's bouncing all over the place. But I walk up the steps to the trampoline and I hurt my ankles or something.
Yeah. I twisted my ankle trying to walk across a pad, like a gym mat.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sitting there laying on the ground screaming, "Son, you're on your own now. Live long."
Yeah, and they're like, "Well, you signed an 80-page waiver, so you're on your own."
It's like an end user license agreement of a video game system.
Yeah, pretty much. And who
you don't have the right to sue us, but we have the right to be sued, but due to arbitration of somebody we picked that'll be biased to us. We're every company ever.
Yeah, other than that, just plugging away at the bathroom. Almost there.
Got a shower. You're gonna smell great soon.
Yep, and I can get rid of that rash. And then video game wise, I'm finishing Super Mario RPG. It's been I take my time with it a little bit. Was playing Battletoads this week, obviously. To varying levels of frustration, as we'll get into. And then still plugging away at a little bit of Shining Force, and I've been just playing around with Sonic the Hedgehog, the first Sonic the Hedgehog, on my Switch, and it's been fun.
Yeah, so, I started that too.
You?
I started Sonic the Hedgehog because somebody I got into a discussion with, and plus, I promised our buddy there, Captain Al, I'd plug away at it. Yep. So I started it, and I'm going to save my thoughts on it, but there's probably a good reason I wasn't a Sega kid. Other than that, I started Turtles 4, which will be next week's episode, and
yeah,
Not much new. Like after I finish Super Mario RPG, I don't have a modern game that I'm playing currently, so maybe I'll go back to Spider-Man 2 over the holidays.
Okay. Is there like extra side quest kind of stuff or new game plus or anything that you're working
Oh,
on
on
that?
Mario RPG there?
No,
Oh, Spider-Man, I
Spider-Man.
haven't even finished the game yet.
Oh,
Yeah, oh
okay,
no, I
yeah.
just
Oh,
kind of
get back to it.
abandoned it for a bit there, and we started this podcast, and I focused on the retro games, and I just got to go back to it. My PlayStation has gone untouched, much like my wife, for the last 5 weeks. She says she's going to listen to this, but she really doesn't, so I'll know she does when she comes up and hits me for this one. I'll be finally, oh, you
We'll be
finally caught
recording.
up, did you?
We'll be recording Turtles in Time, and you'll just get smacked.
Yeah, everybody will hear it.
Yeah.
No, but I got something to say. If you want to hear Sam on a different podcast, you can check out Retro Wars on the episode of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, where Sam is actually guest hosting with Chris Coplain from Retro Hangover, and of course
Yep.
Danny from the Retro Wars podcast.
Yeah, it was a fun time. That was my podcast
Popped
debut.
his
So
podcast cherry.
yeah.
But those are also two
Yeah,
good
it was
recommendations for podcasts if you're looking for retro video game and people who are good at it.
yes, absolutely.
But this week we talked about it, and we're going to do something a little bit new, kind of a short, just a couple of video game stories that kind of stood out. I have a little discussion on that, so we're going to move into that right now. And the first story I saw was Bandai Namco denies using AI voices in its latest Naruto X Boruto game. And what they basically said was through the audio development process, they changed the voices or something of that of one of the characters who does the voices of Naruto. And people are accusing them of using AI to basically recreate the voices. And that's kind of a big no-no in the industry right now. And there's a lot of fights going on with voice actors about that. So what's your thoughts on AI, Sam?
Um, Man, if you see some of the images that AI comes up with, I saw a great one online of um, like a reimagining, AI reimagining of all the Western Conference NHL teams, and it's pretty fucking hilarious. It's not there yet to pass for human quality
No, it's
created
good enough to
things. I
trick
don't
you
think.
well enough into making a podcast logo. Ours.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. It is
but
not up there to make anything really, really good yet.
no, yeah, and like it's just this article was just really weird because it was like Bandai was saying, like, well, we didn't use AI, but then it sounds like they kind of went back and fixed it, which kind of is almost to me an admission of
Yeah, they
guilt. Like
used AI,
the
and
voice actors that are known for those roles were like, I didn't do this, and
yeah,
it's just it stinks, man.
no.
I don't like
I'm
it. Um,
taking a course on screenwriting, and one of the things we had to do was look up the what's it called, the Writing Guild of America and their current strike. And one of the things they uh, basically agreed upon at the end of it was how AI could be used in a script writing fashion. And they're not
mhm.
dismissing like AI use in their medium. They're just putting a limit on how it can be used to replace somebody, and in most cases, it can't be used to replace somebody. And it's actually also going, or that's also going towards art and video and voices and stuff like that. Like you heard the big thing about them wanting to scan background actors and then use their AI images in future movies. Well,
Yeah,
now the video game industry is kind of going through the same thing, so that you can't just type into AI and program an entire AAA game.
right.
But we'll
Yeah,
see how it goes.
that likeness thing where you can be scanned and used for future films is kind of like a way to like cheat
Yeah,
aging or
just
death,
wait for it. They'll put it
like
in those airport scanners that scan your junk. You put your arms up on the pole there, and then they scan 360 around you just to make sure you're not hiding a
yeah,
bomb up your bum.
right. No snook up, no
Oh,
snook up
snook.
your sniz.
All right, our second story is everybody knows this. By the time this is released, it'll already be out. It's coming out 5th of December, and that is the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer, and it's already leaked as we record this on the 4th of December. So I actually got to watch it today.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it
is it
looks
good?
fantastic. It's got what's shaping up to be a good story, but it's been announced for release in 2025, so we got a couple of years left to wait.
Okay, what's the theme of it? I know like
It goes back to that
um
Vice City
yeah.
type of theme, and it seems like you have a
Oh,
boyfriend and a girlfriend, or guy and a girl, I guess. I'm not really going to determine what they are, but well, she was sitting on his lap, so I really hope they're not brother sister. But it is the South, so to be determined. But basically, they're criminals together because that's what you are in GTA games as criminals. And it didn't really get into the story. It just kind of flashed a whole bunch of scenes of cars and stuff like that. And the graphics look phenomenal. But again, early builds probably use CGI graphics rather than in-game graphics. But I'm actually quite excited for this. But
yeah,
I'm
could
also
be.
a little bit weary. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'll be honest, I'm not too excited about it cuz I've never played a GTA. Aside from like, like fucking around with one on like a friend's PS2 back in the day or whatever, but like not actually sat down and played a story or anything. So I mean, I'm interested just to see like how it meets the hype or doesn't meet the hype. I'm sure it will, but there's always going to be some subsection of humans on the internet that want to complain
Oh,
about it.
of course.
So
But if you
I
look
guess
at
we'll
the
see.
history of games, like AAA games over the last few years that have just hyped themselves to the moon and then failed to deliver,
Yeah,
Cyberpunk,
there have
No
been a
Man's
few.
Sky, and I know these games are fixed now, but on launch they were just broken messes.
And you want to say like developers have probably learned from these
Nope.
mistakes, but then I mean, yeah, I mean, Redfall just happened, this year, and that was pretty bad. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah, so we'll
yeah.
see.
This year has been kind of a bad one for Microsoft too.
Yeah, Starfield
Not
isn't as
Starfield. What was the one before
well.
that? The vampire-esque game, Redfall.
That was Redfall. Yeah, that was
Oh,
Redfall.
sorry.
That's
Did
what
you
I
say
said. That was
Redfall?
the one that was like really bad. Yeah, that was the one that was really bad earlier this year, and it was like, yeah,
Oh man, I guess it.
they needed.
So I should pay more attention. I thought you said Starfield. I kind of phased for a second there, and
Yeah, well, that one wasn't as well received as
you
they
know
thought
what?
it
I
would be.
played a
To
bit
be
of it, and it
realistic.
was just boring. It wasn't broken in any way, shape, or form, but I was just bored. Like it
Yeah,
failed to capture either that Fallout or that Elder Scrolls feeling that they kind of
mm,
promised was a mashed together thing.
yeah.
I really,
Well, I don't have an Xbox, so I won't be playing those.
yeah,
So,
well,
oh,
don't buy it just for Starfield. Anyways,
no, that's okay. I'll pass.
yeah. All right. The last story I'm going to kind of go over is actually something I found kind of interesting, and the pictures have already been taken off of Instagram, but the creator of Waluigi, Fumide Aoki, showed some pictures of a design for Wall Peach on Instagram. And basically, Wall Peach is literally the same idea as Waluigi and Wario, is the polar opposite of Peach. And originally, she was
Right.
pitched for Mario Tennis on the GameCube, but what's his name? Not Hideo Kojima. Jeez. Oh man,
Oh,
Nintendo guy.
yeah. Now
Shigeru
I'm blanking too.
Miyamoto. God,
Yes,
that was gonna
Miyamoto.
kill
Yeah,
me if I
Miyamoto.
couldn't get that one. Shigeru
Yeah, I was about to
Miyamoto.
say Miyazaki, and that's a different
Yeah,
thing.
he said he doesn't even want to see their like the Wario and Waluigi's girlfriends ever develop, so they'll never actually come to light.
Yeah, it's funny. We've got the link to the story here, and actually, since it has been taken down from Instagram, those images weren't up. So I had to go find it from. I just Googled it, and someone had
Of
pulled
course.
it and put it on their own. So like the the headline for it was, "Evil Princess Peach design implies Wall Peach was into some kinky stuff." She's got like the high like black leather goth boots, and she's just wearing like leather gloves up to the up past the elbow, and she's got like a black dress. And yeah, I mean, she's looks like Peach is a leather babe. I can see why they didn't do this.
Well, I'm on the internet quite a bit, but not super a lot. But I've been seeing pictures of like kinky princess. It's like Bowser princess or something like that. But I thought
Okay.
that was what this was going to be a play on, but it turns out no, it's just like an adorable little, yes, anti princess or anti peach.
Yeah. Also, the name is dumb.
Yeah, and you
Like,
can tell.
it shouldn't be Wall Peach. It should be like Wa Peach, I guess. If that sounds stupid
Yeah, well, I
too.
have a
It's like
feeling
they're
that
just
if they actually took this character and put it in a game, somebody at marketing would have been there to rename it.
yeah.
But no, it's definitely an interesting world. The stuff we don't get, but it always leaks a few years later.
Oh, wait. This like Bowserized Princess Peach. I, I did a quick Google search and kind of wish I hadn't, but is it like she's wearing like a black dress and has like the heavy like eye makeup and
Yeah, and it
is like sexed
yeah,
up?
pretty much it's a sex thing. It's like everything in the internet
Yeah.
has to be turned into sex, like those ponies. Oh,
Yeah. Hey, listeners, if you search Kinky Bowser Princess Peach on Google, the safe search will kick in and blur your some of your
yeah, or for
images
some
there.
of you, just check your folders on your desktops. We know what you're into. We're not here because you're not into that stuff.
Right.
And we're not here to shame. You do you.
Nope.
All right. So that's enough about the gaming world because it's finally time for us to get into our game of the week. So after I put on some music here in post production, Sam and I will be back to talk a little bit about Battletoads and why he respects it so much.
Battletoads is a classic NES game developed by Rare and released in 1991. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game known for its challenging gameplay, vibrant graphics, and humorous tone. The storyline follows three anthropomorphic toads, Rash, Zitz, and Pimple, as they embark on a mission to rescue their kidnapped comrade, Princess Angelica, from the evil Dark Queen. The game features a variety of levels with distinct gameplay mechanics, including platforming, racing, and combat. One of the standout elements of Battletoads is its difficulty, with progressively challenging levels and boss fights that require precise timing and coordination. The game's cooperative multiplayer mode allows two players to navigate the levels together, adding to the overall fun and chaos. Battletoads has become a cult classic among gamers, remembered for its tough gameplay, catchy music, and memorable characters. Over the years, it has spawned sequels, re-releases, and references in popular culture, solidifying its place in the nostalgic memories of those who played it during the NES era.
All right, thank you, Sam. That was wonderful. Uh, so I want to save kind of our gameplay discussion for the end of this because you've got some hot takes, I guess you'd call it, or hot opinions on this game, and I got some stuff to say about it because this is the first game that neither of us could beat,
Yeah.
or at least get to the last boss. So far, at least one of us has beaten every game we've played, so they had somebody to talk to about it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be kind of going off of a gameplay video we each watched, and that's how we're going to go through the levels near the end. But let's start with the music. So, what do you think of the music in this game, Sam?
It's pretty good. I mean, especially that pause music was fantastic.
Best in the video game world.
Yes, among the best. I would say the music was good. I didn't get well, I did because I was trying the speed bikes for quite a while, but the music would get the pace would get really frenetic and just really get in my head. Like as it goes faster, I felt like I was panicking, and so that kind of threw me sometimes when I had a good rhythm. So the music is good, but it really also I think kind of adds to the difficulty of the game at times.
It does in a speed bike level there. When you hit the barrier there to kind of be your checkpoint too, to kind of restart the track there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was because I died so many times in that last section or if it's because it does it automatically. But every time I think about it, my brain can completely start the music and play it over and over again. And it's one of those songs that's now embedded in my brain. It took me so long to get through that speed bike level.
Yeah. That's the first like I mean obviously we'll talk about it when we talk about the levels
Yeah.
too, but like that's really
Oh,
the first time that you're gonna get stuck
yeah.
for
And
sure.
the music from the first level of the game, just after you're dropped off the ship there, somebody actually took that and resampled it and put it over Jay-Z's 99 Problems.
Oh, no way. I bet that sounds awesome.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. I'll send you the link after this.
All right.
Maybe I'll post a link in the description if I can remember. But yeah, it's my ringtone on my phone right now.
Oh, nice.
That's why I kept thinking Battletoads when we started this, is because people would call me and that would come up.
Yeah.
But it fits so goddamn well.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the music. Actually, I like probably almost all the songs in this are really well done for an 8-bit system. I mean, the amount of variety they have for
Yeah.
a game like this old is pretty impressive.
Yeah. When, I mean, I just read it, but 1991. So I guess it was late. It was later in the NES lifespan, but I mean,
Yeah.
still, like, for the
Well, they're
technical
still using the
limitations.
NES hardware, right?
Yeah, I mean, the technical limitations, they were able to do a lot with this game. That's really, really impressive.
And yeah, and that brings us into the graphics because
Yeah.
as well, the graphics are pretty good for a Nintendo game. There's plenty to look at. There wasn't just blank backgrounds. In some cases, the backgrounds are even moving.
Yeah, which really fucks with your with your eyes, even if it looks good.
Yeah. I mean, there was really no time to kind of stop and take it all in there because either something's chasing you or you're chasing something or something's going to blow up in you. And you know how
Yeah.
it goes.
I mean, it's
Difficulty of this game makes it hard to look at.
yeah. I mean, it's really, really good to look at if you're like watching the playthrough. I could kind of take my eyes off of the sprite and just look at what was going on around and be really impressed with it. But you know, the other thing that really made an impression was like right off the bat, you get past that start screen, and I think there's maybe a little bit of dialogue, but that ship comes in, and that looks so cool.
Yeah.
Whatever their ship is called or whatever, but like, man, that looked good.
I have it.
In the map too, like as you progress through the levels, it's kind of like just I don't know, like an overhead map, but you're kind of what other game is like that? You know what I'm talking about.
So I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like the overhead map just shows the entire world there and kind of a outline of the
Yeah, like
level,
an outline of the levels and stuff.
but doesn't get into detail of what's inside the level. So you kind of know what's coming up, but you don't. You know if you're going left or right, up or down.
Yeah, that's a good indicator too. Like when you get into the later levels, it's like, well, the little dot on the screen showed that I would be in like a vertical tube or like a maze like place or a place that's fire or a place that's ice, you know.
Yeah, and that was kind of helpful to know how fucked you were.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's all it
Am I
told
going
you.
to
It's like,
slide to my death, burn to my death,
yeah,
crash to my death? It doesn't matter. To
yeah,
my death is always the
fall
key
to my
point in
death.
this game.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the controls of the game before we get into the gameplay here? It's like we got controls and fighting.
Oh yeah. So the controls that aren't fighting, so basically like the jumping, is great. I think you always think that you're not, because I think the running and the jumping is a little bit almost has like a fluid feel to it.
Yeah,
Um,
and
yeah.
my only problem with the jumping was the vertical plane, like the up and down, is kind of where I usually got screwed. Is because you'd
Hmm.
have to look at the shadow, but the character wouldn't feel like he was falling in the same spot the shadow was.
Oh, that's nuts. I didn't get to anything where I had to jump vertical, so that would have
Oh, that was
frustrated
level
me.
one.
Oh, on
I'm
level.
not. I like.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just talking like that. You know.
Oh, yeah. Where it's kind of like almost isometric. Not quite
Yeah.
though. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
you're going to attack an enemy there, and like you jump or something to go hit him, and then you come down and you miss him completely. It's just like, ah, dude. It's like you're watching the shadow, and the shadow looked like it was in the right spot, but you come down in a different spot.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and like that makes it especially hard for enemies that are airborne too. Um, it just
Hmm.
makes it real tough to try to pin those down unless you really get either lucky or kind of just get in front of it and tee off on it and are
Yeah, and
able to
there's
do a
some
good
one
job.
ups there that require you to know where you are on the screen as well, because
Yes.
they'll be like upper center there, and you hit a jump, and you have to be right on where that one up is,
Yeah, and
otherwise you miss it.
if yeah, you can't go back and try the jump again or just jump straight up and get it. It's like there, but you're not going to be able to get it.
And sometimes it's like straight up bullshit. It's like I got that, no, screw you, and then I die, and I get another chance to get it.
Yeah, but you've died.
Yeah. You know, Is that called a horizontal move?
Yeah.
But the fighting in this game, I like the fighting mechanic, the double tap to run, headbutt, the kicking
Yes.
people when they're buried in the ground, and the punching was actually pretty fun.
Yes, I love the animations of it too, like the when you would do land a few punches in a row, it would just kind of lock that enemy in so you could just punch 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 punch, and then that last punch was like just a huge fist, and then there's like big kicks where like the foot is huge, and the when you ram them, I had to like look at it a few times, but um it's actually, it looks like ram horns.
Yeah, they come out of your head and you just
Yeah,
like headbutt them.
I love those animations are so cool.
But if you time it right, you can double tap the to run. But if you do it close enough to the bad guy and you hit attack right after, you'll go right into the super attack. So you don't even have to run to do it. You don't have to get
Yes.
momentum, which is what I liked.
Yeah, whatever playthrough I was watching through, they had that button timing down exact, and I don't think they beat, like, very few enemies did they actually do like, punch 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 punch. It was like always run up and do a super attack, super attack, super attack. So it was like
Yeah,
everything coming onto the screen was just kicked immediately off the screen.
yeah, pretty much. One of my biggest problems though is when you got knocked down, you're like down for about a good 2-3 seconds there, and
Yeah.
if an enemy's jumping on you, like one of the later enemies, it would just mess you up because you're on the ground, you can't move.
Yeah, if you don't get good at the combat, you can really get kind of cornered, and like if they get you squared up and start punching at you, you're pretty well fucked. You lose most, if not all of your little health bar, and you're done.
Yeah, and then some enemies, they would punch you, which would stun you because once you get punched, you just kind of sit there
Mhm.
like completely stunned. And they would always pause to hit you with a big attack, and that was your only chance to get away. So you'd have to jump out of the way, then hit them back.
Yeah.
But those are well, I guess they add a little bit of a challenge to the game, but no, it was annoying when I was fighting one of the enemies on my first time getting to him there, and he would knock me down and then jump on me because I wouldn't get up in time. So
Yeah.
maybe dislike that.
Yeah, it's one of those things though where with repetition, if you really get good at timing some of those attacks, it's almost like an exploit how powerful the super attack is.
Yeah, and some enemies, you hit them before they hit the ground. You just keep bouncing them up, and then they can't use their attack because they don't attack unless they're touching the ground.
Oh yeah, and I saw like um in the playthrough some of the bosses, like those bosses take an enormous number of hits, but
Oh
the
yeah,
whoever was doing the playthrough like would punch, like super hit the boss up into the air and just like play like keepy uppy with the boss.
yeah, pretty much. And then you just bounce them around for about, I think it was like a good probably 20 to 25 hits before the boss went down. Those were super attacks.
Yeah, so just imagine like how long you'd be fighting this boss if you were just doing like punch 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 punch. Like you'd be doing that for, you'd be mashing A for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I guess again that's one of the things. I mean, if it's a boss, you got to forgive it for being a little bit harder.
Yeah, I suppose so. Speaking of hard though, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I was typing something in my computer there. I'm trying to segue at the same time, and I couldn't. I almost actually read out what I was typing. So,
Oh,
but that brings us to the game segue, and I'm a master of it now. The game is hard and is designed to be really, really hard. And this is where we were talking a little bit before the show. This is where you had an interesting comment. So I'll let you say it to everybody.
I mean, I don't fault the game for being difficult. This is one of those ones where, I mean, you can say, there are difficult games that are bad. Like we talked about Ren and Stimpy last week. That can be a fairly difficult game unless you know exactly how to maneuver the poor controls and everything. Um, this is a game that I think is just really, really hard, but it's just well designed, and so it's a combination of like precision, pixel perfect timing, and rote memory is the only way that you can get through this unless you're some sort of a complete prodigy.
Yeah, and memory was the key to getting through most of the levels is you remember what's coming up through your multiple or many, many playthroughs.
Yeah.
And eventually it just becomes second nature. Like the speed bikes when we started, I had no chance of getting past the second part, and by the time the week ended, I was like whipping past them as it was kind of an annoyance just to get to that warp.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's like one of the things that impressed me was a couple of the levels. There was like that kind of sewer pipe level where those there's like these buzz saw things that are chasing you, and you don't really know whether they're gonna go like up or down, or like what the trick is to for them to break the barriers for you to advance through, or else I would assume they crush you. But um man, I mean, unless you just do trial and error over and over and over and over again, there would be no way that you would know. Like, there's no pattern to it aside from just doing it over and over again and learning how to
Oh yeah, and one of the I think like the second last levels where you're on that speed bike and I didn't make it to that part, and thank God because I probably would have pitched my system across the room.
yeah.
But by the time the guy playing the game got to the end, the thing that's chasing you and killing you was like right on his ass, and if he had
Mhm.
made any mistake, he would never have made it to the end.
That was nuts. And I was gonna ask if you actually got to that part, because I was wondering, and we can talk about it when we get to it too. But like, there were like little arrows on the screen, and it almost looked like I would almost want to say like a quick time event. Like, you'd have to kind of anticipate the arrow that's coming up next and press that just before you get there.
Yeah, and I
Almost,
think that's what
yeah.
you have to do. I think that's where because on the playthrough I watched, he died one time. That's how I
Oh,
knew the big ball that chases you is going to kill you. And I'm pretty sure he just mistimed a turn. And I'd have to ask my brother. Honestly, if I remember correctly, I think my brother actually beat this game, but he has this like level of attention to detail where if he puts his mind to something, he will play it until he beats it.
right.
And to put an emphasis on that point, when we were young, he was playing Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo, and he got every character in the game to level 99 before I saved over his file by accident. It was by
Oh,
accident. And
and
then
he's
he actually did it a second time.
jeez.
Like how long it took him to get every character to level 99. I didn't touch the game after that.
Yeah, I
It's not
wouldn't
true. I
either.
actually played it, but
I can't believe he still talks to you.
yeah, well, occasionally. Mostly
Yeah.
just to remind me, what I've done to him in his life. But
um,
yeah,
I
now we'll
just
see if he listens
yeah, yeah. We'll find out next week.
as he
Um,
hauls off on me. Goosh.
yeah, the other thing I was thinking was like, you could get good at this game, but for me to get good at this game, I think I would have to not have any other distractions at all in my life, and I would have to just kind of completely focus on this. And this is not a shot at anyone who's good at this game. If you are, I I bow down to you. You are incredible. But I'm
Get
just
out of the
like,
house for once, man.
yeah, I just um I couldn't do it. I'm not naturally skilled enough to even get good at this game. I don't think I could do it.
I think with time I could get close to finishing this game. I think that speed bike level when we get to it, you'll understand why I can't ever think I'll beat that. But like I said, a lot of the game was just repetition and then memorizing it. It becomes second nature.
Right.
Uh, Other than that, the only other thing I hated was the pixel perfect jump over spikes. If your toe got touched by a spike, boom, you're dead.
Yeah, which is why I don't understand when I was watching this playthrough. We should actually link it. The one that I found, we should link in the description, because it's like a 40-minute playthrough, and it's absolutely incredible. The guy or girl, I don't know who did it, but like, hats off, because it's like they didn't take a hit the entire time, and I don't understand how.
Although, yeah, the one I watched, the he died or he or she died a few times,
Yeah,
and I get it. There's a couple of parts where I was like, no, this guy is absolutely insane because he's moving so fast and not making a mistake. It's like,
right.
get out of the house once in a while. That's all I'm saying. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. If it wasn't for him, we'd never see the end of the game.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you, YouTubers that post full
Yeah,
playthroughs
you're
that make
truly the unsung heroes of retro video game podcast.
yeah, they make me at the same time envious and incredibly depressed that I can't play video games that well.
Yeah. Oh, when I was a kid and I had nothing but time and no taxes, I was. I could get that good.
Yeah,
But
just
there was no YouTube back then. In fact, we didn't even have TVs. In fact, Nintendo didn't even exist. We played with a stick and a hoop.
stick and hoop. Yeah, the classic.
All right, so should we get into the levels?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the game starts off fairly easy, and level 1 is called Ragnarok's Canyon. And nothing special about this level except for there is a warp immediately in the game, and it
Mm-hmm.
warps you ahead 2 levels.
Yeah.
So what you got to do is, as soon as you land on the ground, 2 pigs come up from the ground and spikes, and you have to get the lower left one with a ram, like running hit, and then get the other one right after that with another running hit, and that lets you move the screen to the right, and then you have to get up to the ledge that's at the top of the screen as soon as humanly possible, otherwise that warp will disappear, and it's like a hit or miss if I can get it.
Yeah, this one seems like really tough to figure out. You'd have to like probably read this in a game tips magazine or,
Well, see,
you
I don't
know,
know about that because some people might just be like, this level's not hard to begin with, so they'll probably land on the ground having played it so much after dying on the speed bikes too many times, and they'll
if if
just
that's yeah.
take out those enemies toot sweat there and then get up on that ledge.
If that's the case, that's a really, really fucking genius way to put a warp in because you're timing it or you're designing it basically for the player to get good enough that they're going to breeze through the first level and make it more likely that if you're breezing through the first level, you're going to find the warp. That's
Yeah, and the
cool.
first 2 levels are nothing special. Like
Yeah.
in a game that's near impossible to beat, the first 2 levels are very easy.
Yeah. That's just, I mean,
They throw you off.
chef's kiss to that first level though. It's fun. And the boss, the walker at the end is like, I mean, if you've played Turtles in Time, you know, and you know the boss where you're throwing the foot soldiers at Shredder while he's in that mech, it's exactly that. It's just that, you know, it's very easy boss, but it's just very fun and unique for an NES game at the time, and it looks great.
Yeah, and a funny part is there's a hole in the ground that you're going to go down that represents the second level, and if you actually walk up too far to it, you'll fall down the hole and die, as I found out by accident.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, this game is unforgiving. But oh, we'll get into the 2 player mode later. But yeah, so 1 player is good enough to beat this. It's very simple. Like Sam said, machine throws a ball, you throw the ball at the machines, and then the machine dies after 3 balls to the face, like most of us.
Yeah.
But no, after that, you are jumping into the Wookiee hole.
What a
I
weird
love the
name.
name.
Yeah.
And I actually like this level. And out of all the levels I played, the descending on a rope while taking out enemies on the sides, I found this one to be really fun. And if you press up against the side, you turn into a wrecking ball.
Yes, I love this level. It's like a bonus. Yeah, that wrecking ball is like a bonus animation that is only in this level, and it's so cool. It's like a giant weight that you can use, and it's like a that's the super attack here, and it's very useful.
Yeah, and the only enemy that's a dick is the bird that you get the sword out of its beak there. And if you miss it, it cuts your rope.
Yeah, yeah, but if you do kill it, like the first one you kill, the beak like flies off, and you can grab it as a weapon. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and then from there, it's just you're on automatic mode.
Right.
Nothing really big about this one. There's a couple of laser fences that go down, and you just have to dodge the opening and get to the bottom. No big boss on this one.
No, and like the laser fences are probably one of the hardest parts because the second one is a little quicker. You have to react a little faster, but that's another one where like you play the level a few times and you know where to expect it.
Yeah, exactly. It just again play this enough times, dying in the next level, the turbo tunnel there, then these first 2 levels just become second nature. Like even playing the game for the first time after like 15, 20 years, I had no problem with level 1 and level 2.
Yeah.
But level 3, turbo tunnels, this is where the problem started.
Mm-hmm.
And starts out easy enough. You're just fighting a bunch of rats on what looks like a inside of a brain.
Yeah, it's goofy looking in there.
I have no idea what this is supposed to represent, but
They
it's
did.
pretty anyways.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. They managed to make. I mean, within even the limitations of the NES hardware, like they managed to make that level look wet and like just kind of,
I
you
never
know,
thought of it that way, but you're right. I'm looking at a picture right now, and you are absolutely right. That level looks wet.
It looks wet and squishy.
Oh God, what a way to describe it. All right, but halfway through this level, after you beat up a few rats and save your life from the space invaders, you get on that stupid bike. This is
Yeah.
where you first said you were going to stop playing.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's one of those things where like it's so challenging, and I use save states just to like, because I'm not gonna put in the time like I had, in this, summertime when I was, 8 or whatever. But um I mean, the amount of memorization, I mean, that's we keep saying that, but it's true. Like,
Yeah,
you just have to know where the stuff is coming from, and it
that's where the
gets.
theme of this game is going to come in. It's a memorization game.
Yeah, and this is the first time that the music can like keeps ramping up, and it's like the speed bike portion of the level is so fucking long that like you keep getting these checkpoints, which is great, but you only have so many lives. So no matter what, like, oh, you want another shot at that? Well, it's still coming just as fast. And you might get past the first couple that threw you the first time, but then all of a sudden there's like a jump. And the first time, like, I thought I was getting really good at it. It was like I did jump a ledge, and then they threw in a curveball where there's like a high ledge that you have to just drive under, and I jumped, and I was like, well, of course I did that. Like,
Yeah, and well, for me, it was I think you actually were a lot farther than me in this one when I got there, and I kept dying in the second part of it. And for the life of me, it was just frustrating the crap out of me. And then I put the thing down. You ever have that moment where you're so frustrated, you're just like, I'm done with this game. And then like 20 minutes later, you're like, well, I really feel like playing it again. So you pick it up, and all of a sudden you're better at the game because you've
yes.
had a chance to like calm down.
Yeah, you calm down, and I think your brain kind of does something in
Probably
that
stores
moment.
all that crap into long term memory.
Yeah, it just like there's time for your brain to process and commit that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
after that, doing that a few times, I actually memorized the first three parts of it almost down to muscle memory. And then the fourth part is just really fast, but the walls appear top, bottom, like in succession, and you just have to go really fast. And there's a warp at the 10th wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I was good enough to make it to that 10th wall before I'd screw up. So I kept landing in the warp whether I wanted to or not.
Yeah, that was my problem too. I never actually beat the speed bikes. I just ended up either dying or in the warp.
I counted as speed bikes. I
Okay.
made
Well,
it past the level. That's
then I beat the speed bikes. Woo!
yeah. But I never got to play the next level, and because I never was able to make it to it, I'd
Yeah.
always warp past it. But it's the Arctic Caverns,
This
and it's an
looks
ice level. And if you're like me, you do not like ice levels because sliding mechanics are just annoying.
Yeah, this level looked really, really challenging. There are snowballs that follow you down slopes that obviously snowball, so they gain mass and everything and kind of chase you down. And then
And it's a
there's like,
one-hit kill.
yeah, and then there's also like these walls, like these kind of ice walls, and these kind of like floating or like sliding ice cubes, and you have to avoid getting hit by the ice cubes, but you have to use either the ice cubes or snowballs, which we can talk about too. But like, you have to use those things to break through these barriers to get through, and while that's happening, you're still having to kind of like dodge whatever's just kind
Yeah,
of
some of
happening.
the like the snowballs come from angry snowmen. Either
Yeah.
you kill them and it makes a pile of snowballs and you can throw it, but you can't like carry them with you. You have to throw them from where they are, or they throw them at you. And in some parts of the level, the guy had to dodge the snowballs while they're being thrown because he was too far back, or the enemy was too far
Mhm.
back for him to throw them at the wall himself.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. I want to mention that part too, because like you have to put your little sprite like right in front of that wall, and then the snowman that's throwing it is off screen to the left, and it's coming from behind you. So you're basically having to just duck, 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 duck. Like, and it takes a lot of snowballs to break through these barriers, but it's like
Literal.
ducking, and then all of a sudden it'll throw like a low one. So it's like another one of those things where it's like, okay, you figured this out, but we're still gonna fuck with you because there's gonna
Yeah.
be a low one every now and then, and
Only
you're gonna have to
advantage is
react.
at this point your brain's working so fast that those snowballs actually look slower than
Right.
they are.
Yeah. And I thought it was really clever, um, just aspect of this level that you could beat up the snowman and then they would crumble into a pile of snowballs, and then if you're standing on that pile of snowballs you can throw them. I thought that was just so cool.
Yeah, that was neat. And that was another thing about this game is not a lot of enemies in different levels are repeated. Like there's not all of a sudden a rock pile that you can throw later on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a unique enemy and a unique level.
Yeah, very
But
much so.
so the Arctic caverns thaws out and you go into Surf City, which is next, and that's where the warp took me. So this is
Yep.
a level I played.
Yeah,
And
me
you had
too.
some problems with the surfing, and I know you're not a big fan of it. So you can have at it right now.
Oh yeah.
I'll my thoughts after.
Yeah, I mean, if I had continued on, I unfortunately just kind of ran out of time to keep trying to plug away at this one. But man, that surfboard for whatever reason just was in my head, and I could not time it. I could get past there's like floating logs similar to the speed bike. I mean, you can kind of control your speed a little bit on the surfboard by pulling back, but you can't jump. Although you can kind of skip it.
Yeah,
Um,
you're skipping the whole time. You actually,
yeah.
if you time it right, you can skip over those logs.
Right, and I kinda got it sometimes, but I hadn't quite perfected the timing, so it wasn't like I would skip a couple and then I'd get hit by one, and it was like it takes half your health, and then you get hit by another one right away and you're done. So it's like, um, I did get past them and into the whirlpools, but I didn't pass the whirlpools. I just
See, the
at that point,
whirlpools were funny
yeah.
because they look like they're going from top to bottom, but they're actually leaving a little gap on one of the sides. And if you can see where the gap is, you just go pin yourself to that side, either the top or the bottom, and you just bounce right past them unhurt.
Yeah, and
And
the one that
they turned out to be fairly easy once you figured that out.
the one that I didn't figure it out, but the one that moved really fast, always got me, like, no matter what, and at some point, I was just getting in my own head, like, I was getting to that one that was fast, I was like, "Well, here's where it ends," and then,
Yeah,
lo and
my goal
behold.
was to get out of this level without using a continue. By this point, I was down usually to one life left,
Yeah.
and I was just doing everything I could just to get to the next level so I could die and continue from there. But after you're finished the first round of the surfboards, you jump off there and you get your first boss of the game,
Mhm.
and that is the big rat called Big Blog.
Yeah.
And he's the one I'm talking about. He jumps up and down, and if you're on the ground, he'll land on top of you, and it'll take like one or two hits to wipe you out. Turns out there's a couple of walkers, the big long leg guys, only the legs are double the size as the ones in level one. You beat them and you get a stick. And if you take that stick and pin this guy in the corner, you can just give him a good old fashioned beatdown and just whack him off until he finally gives in and dies.
Yeah.
It's not a hard enemy once you figure that out, but if you don't figure that out, you're just kind of dodging. And
Yeah,
guess what, Sam?
yeah,
After this, there's more
more
surf.
surfboards. And I don't well, it's a faster speed, and there's, like, these floating mines, they look like those, like, World War II submarine mines that are like spike balls, and maybe I was just because I was watching the playthrough and I didn't experience this myself, but this actually looked like I might have more success with the second part than the first part.
I had no problems with the second part because there's normally a huge gap you could go to just to like,
Yeah.
even though it was coming at you pretty fast, it's still huge gap at the top or the bottom. Just avoided it, and then you're good to go. But
Yeah.
there's a game on the Nintendo. I don't know if you've ever played it called Cobra Triangle.
No.
And this part actually, I don't know why, but it reminded me of this game Cobra Triangle. And it's just you're in a boat and you're going down rivers and stuff like that. In some cases, you have to dodge mines. And
Okay.
I don't know, just had a flashback to it. Figure I'd mention it.
Yeah, maybe we should cover it on the show.
Who knows? Maybe we will.
If it's anything like Battletoads, I'll probably be bad at it.
I don't know. It's a fun game. Yeah, you know what? I'll send it to you. You can give it a try.
All
Let me
right.
know what you think before we actually put it on the schedule.
All right. All right.
All right, so after you finish this one, you go to Karnath's lair, and this is where you get the snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Why did it
Insert
have to be
soundbite, get
snakes?
copyright strike.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to get in trouble.
But this one just has a whole bunch of snakes on it, and then all you're doing, there's no enemies. So in this one, all you're doing is a snake comes out of the wall and it goes up like does 90-degree turns up and to the right and down and to the left and all that kind of stuff, and it makes its way through the level. And you can climb up the snake when it goes vertical, and then you just run along it horizontally, and it goes into the wall, and another snake comes out, and you time your jump, and you repeat the process. Not overly hard until they throw in the spikes.
Yeah, spike balls.
And God, I hate spikes.
Did you
As
actually did you finish this level?
I got past this level because there's another warp in it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I made it to the third part where the spikes began, and it's again, it was another memorization thing. You just watch the snakes where they go and see where the spikes are, and you basically rinse and repeat until you finally figure out the formula and you get out of the whole thing. But uh, once I learned of the warp, which is on the second part, like the second screen,
Hmm.
as you go up the first snake, you jump off them and you land on the right side of the level, and there's a warp right at the end there. It's where you're
Oh,
headed anyway, so it's kind of a way you find it is just trying to speed things up.
so it warps you not to like skip a level, but it goes to just the next one.
It goes 2 levels forward.
Two levels. Oh, 2 levels forward. Okay.
Yeah, every warp is 2 levels forward.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So
So yeah.
yeah, after I did the snake level so many times, that this is kind of where it broke me, and I was going to put it down and just watch a playthrough. But once I found the warp, I was like, "Screw this! I'm going to see how far I can go."
This one, like the playthrough really was just I was mesmerized by it because you kind of get some indication maybe where the next snake is coming from sometimes, but there are times where the next snake that you have to jump on is coming in below where you are and off screen, or the snake is like going, like down and around and up something, and the way where you have to jump is also off screen but over a spike ball or something like that. So again, it's a lot of the trial and error memorization.
Yeah, and you can hear the snake when it makes a direction change. So that's kind of your cue to
Yeah.
jump.
And it gets like so fucking fast at the end. I don't even know how, like, this that's the thing with these sections of the game, like this, like the speed bikes, the snake, the next speed bike that we talk about. But like it just gets progressively and progressively and progressively ridiculously harder each time, and it goes on for so long that like you get through and you're like, all right, whew, I bet that's it, and you're like, oh, are you kidding me, there's
Nope.
more.
Yeah. No, it's games for its difficulty progression is really good because after I got to this point, I found the beginning of the game, including the speed bike level, just very, very easy.
Yeah.
This is where it kind of started breaking me. But the next level and the one I skipped with the warp was Volkmeyer's Inferno, which is inside of a volcano, I imagine.
Yes.
But it's called the Fire Zone on the map. But this one, you start out by jumping along logs over a magma something or other. So it's just timing your jump to land in the right spot. Again, it's nothing super special. It's just make sure you know where you're landing, and that's where the whole shadow problem usually comes in for me.
Yeah, 100%, because on the playthrough I watched, I noticed those logs are very narrow, and I think that would
Mm-hmm.
be a really challenging and frustrating jump if you're not really, really keyed into the, um, I guess, like perceptual, or like the, I don't like the spatial awareness. Like you have to have the spatial awareness to know where your toad is.
Yeah, and this is from what I can remember. This is the second time you see a repeat enemy, and the repeat enemy is the bullet rats.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw them in the speed bike level, except for if they hit you in the speed bike level, you died. In this one, you actually punch the crap out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that gets you up to the jet bikes, the next part. And the jet bikes, unlike the speed bikes, use the full up and down of the map. So you're using the top to the bottom, and you have to dodge uh, pretty well. You have to dodge everything, but you're basically dodging laser fences or whatever you want to call them, electric fences.
Yeah.
There's
There's.
always a gap that's open, and in
Mhm.
some parts the gap is moving. It's a big fuck that.
Yeah, and then there's like the second, I think the second section was like these bullets that came either from the
Oh
right side to
yeah,
the left or top to bottom. Um,
yeah. They would go up and then they would come down, and then you'd see them slide along the top or the bottom, and you just had to dodge them. And
You know,
That
I
looks so much fun.
it looked really difficult, but I think um for some weird reason I can play, or I'm pretty good at these types of like um 2D left to right flying type levels. Like an example I would use is like when you're playing Cuphead, and I think a lot of people don't enjoy the levels where you're in the plane, and I love the levels when you're in the plane.
That's a
Um,
game I still have to play.
oh man, but like if you've played, listeners, if you've played Cuphead, you know like the genie and especially that robot, I think give people a lot of trouble. And while I did have like the robot gave me a lot of trouble, but like once I got it and I kind of got the pattern, I was like in the zone, like avoiding stuff. And I think that if I had enough time to play this or practice this particular jet bike level, I would probably have the same experience where I would just kind of get in a zone and get good at it. I have confidence that I could probably beat this one.
Oh yeah, time
Um,
v effort.
Oh, but another thing that really was like impressive about the playthrough that I watched was like there's one section where the those electric barriers are coming, and they're pretty much just right in the middle. So you go through like maybe two or three of them, and then whoever was playing knew to go to the front of the screen, which would be the right. Um, because there were like three barriers again that if you're too far back in the screen and trying to gauge where you need to be, the electric barriers were actually closing. So they knew to get to the front of the screen after those first three, quick get to the front of the screen, get those three before they close while they're off screen, and then come back and get three more that are coming after that. It was just incredible to watch.
All right, so before we move on, um, there's actually a glitch in this level that means you cannot play it two player.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the glitch is, I think it's a winger. But it's in my notes. It's called the Klinger Winger. But in this level, the player two controller in the glitch actually becomes inactive, so you can't actually dodge anything. So all you have to do, or all you get to do as player two, is just like power through it. So in two player mode, you just have to let player two die and then leave him dead until player one gets to the next level.
That sucks.
Otherwise, you can't move forward. Yeah, so you lose a continue regardless.
Oh, that's lame.
No, that's the game of life, I suppose.
Yeah, they should patch that out.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure it's patched out on the re-release on the rare. What's it called?
Oh, a
The
rare
rare
replay?
replay.
Yeah, for sure. But that's
All
just
right.
funny.
So moving on. This is the level I made it to, and this is where the warp took me to. It's called Intruder Excluder.
Hmm.
You climb a tower, jump through the openings in the floor, avoid, you know, robots that are shooting at you, and you have to get to the top. And there's a part in this where I ended up these balls roll down the platforms and you have to either jump or hit them with the stick. But
Yeah.
if you get hit once, you lose the stick. So I just couldn't make it past that. I couldn't figure out the jump timing and all that.
Okay.
But
Yeah. So you wait, you couldn't hit them with the stick, or you
you
just
can hit them with the stick. And the problem I was having was by the time I got to the left side of the screen to jump up to the next platform, a ball was already coming down. So I'd have to go back, dodge that. And by the time I did that, another ball was already coming down.
oh,
So I couldn't time the jump to get up to the next part.
that's such a shitty feeling when you're it's like um for anyone who's heard our Lion King episode, it's like that goddamn waterfall with those stupid logs. And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing so good." It's like, "No, I'm back at the bottom."
Yeah, this is my waterfall. But no, God, this is I really wanted to keep going at this point. I was really hooked on the game,
Yeah.
but I just kind of ran out of time. And this is that enemy I was talking about. When you get to the top, you
Yes.
get a boss, Robo Magnus, and this is the one the playthrough guy just headbutted the entire time.
Yeah, it was so cool. If you land that headbutt, you can just like that's where was saying like you can just play keepy uppy with the boss, and then that's how you maximize the. I was noticing that if you hit them up in the air a bunch of times in a row, not only do you get not that points matter, but like not
They
only
do.
do
You get lives off them.
Oh, right. Well, that's why they matter is what I was saying. Like if you get like, I don't know if it was you cross a threshold or was it after a certain number of times keeping an enemy in the air?
Yeah, and in the second level of the game, when you're descending the rope, there's a enemy you can continuously kick, and it's like the Mario one-up trick.
Oh, damn.
But it's the same thing with this. You keep them up in the air enough times, and you'll get a one-up.
Cool. Well, next time I'll make sure to just
Next time, yeah.
exploit and I'll get all the one ups and then I'll just lose them all.
On episode 106, when we revisit Battletoads.
Yeah. That'll
Yeah,
that'll be the
no.
day. I'll be good at it by then.
Oh, you'll probably make it to the elevator shaft like I did, and I'll still be stuck there.
Actually, Brian's going to be doing the show solo until episode 106 and I have until then to beat Battletoads.
What's that? Only 2 years?
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
I
2
can do
years.
it. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the like I said, this is as far as I made it in the game. So after this, it's all walkthrough, and we're just going to kind of discuss the levels as we've seen them, not as we played them. So
Right.
next level was Terra Tubes, and I thought this one was kind of neat. This I wanted to make it to this level.
Yeah.
And it's just a tube-like maze level, so you're just running through what I guess they would call like the sewers or something like that. And some parts you have water, some parts is swimming. You get chased by these rings, and the thing I liked is when you were swimming, there was no breathing indicator. So it's not like, oh my god, they're toads in name only. They were actually, able to breathe underwater.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't this level was really crazy. This seemed like there was a lot of like really pixel perfect, like almost Ninja Turtle electric seaweed pixel perfect type swimming. Not quite so intense, but like you got to keep moving through this thing because there is one point where those rings that kind of chase you through the tubes. Um, not only do you not necessarily know where they're going, so you can get out of their way and they can break the barriers, but um, yeah, there was one part where later on after again, there's another ring. Are you kidding me? Like I've
Yeah,
done 5 of these and they're incredibly difficult. And now there's going to be another one after
it
this. And
gets
then,
even harder every time. Like
yes. And then
this
there's one
game
where
is unforgiving.
it's so, yeah. And there, one where you have to swim while avoiding the ring. And you really like there's enemies and spike balls and stuff you have to swim and jump over, like with very, very little leeway for you to make a mistake. There's no room for error.
Yeah, and it is a linear line though, so again, it's just trial and error, and like you said,
Yeah.
I don't know. This level really seemed like there was nothing special to it, but it just looked like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the intro to every level is like the guy in the ship saying like, "Okay, Toads, like you're gonna have to worry about I don't know fire or whatever."
Okay, Toads, I'm up here in my ship. Go friggin' burn to death.
Yeah, but for this one, they're like, "This is gonna be maze like," and it's like it's not really maze like in the sense that you can get lost. It's
No,
just
it's maze
maze
like
like.
in the sense that the path twists and turns.
Yes, exactly.
But once you get out of there, you get into Rat Race.
Hmm.
Rat Race is the level I found to be the most interesting, but probably the one that would have given me a heart attack.
Yes, me too.
This one is another, like, it's the opposite of Intruder Excluder. You're going down a tower this time. You
Hmm.
got a bunch of platforms out there and you beat up some enemies. And then there comes a point where a rat appears and you have to race the rat down these platforms and the moving entryways. And the rat goes insanely fast. Like, it happens 3 or 4 times. By the end of it,
Yeah.
the rat is going so fast that if you don't punch him to slow him down or knock him off track, there is no way you're going to get to the platform at the bottom. That platform at the bottom has a bomb on it, and if you have to kick the bomb out of the way before the rat shows up, otherwise he'll blow you up. And just
Right.
there is no time in the walkthrough to actually look at the level, so I have no idea what it looks like.
Uh yeah, it's really nuts. Like the playthrough I watched, I can't believe how just I guess talented some gamers are that they can memorize this and go through it without getting hit or die at all. Like I would think like, maybe you might have to burn a couple of lives on this one because you've got some built up if you're, if you're good at the game. But like, man, the speed that the toad was falling, and then they just kind of like, I could tell that you had it pixel perfect to where you could just kind of slightly veer them to the right, and you're falling down like a dozen or more platforms,
Yeah,
like
and you're
just in a
touching nothing,
cascade.
otherwise you're screwed.
So just pixel perfect, elegant. Like that's why like I can't beat this game. I think it's really hard, but I have to tip my cap because it's just
Yeah,
the
anybody who can beat this game should be running our country.
the
Our
path is
countries.
there. It's just so narrow. Oh no, they shouldn't be running our country. They wouldn't do anything but like play a game as difficult as this. Nothing would happen. Well, maybe
Yeah,
that's
that
not
might
it.
be a good thing.
Yeah, that might be
What's
better
going on in
actually.
the world nowadays?
Yeah, you talked me into it.
So when you get to the bottom of this level, after you fall insanely fast, you get your, I think we're on our third or fourth boss now, General Slaughter, father of
Mhm.
Sergeant Slaughter. And he's quite simple. He's a ram. He gets faster as the fight goes on, so you just beat the crap out of him. So it's nothing about this fight is anything to write home about.
Yeah, it's kind of the bosses seem to be kind of very much the same fight each time. Where if you have that kind of running start ram super attack thing going, you can just keep them in the air and just beat the shit out of them until they're done.
Yeah, basically. And, it takes a few hits to beat him. And then once he's beaten, you move on to the next level. And I have to make a correction here. If the people I've upset have not already shut off the podcast, I said the glitch was in a couple of levels ago in Volkmaier's Inferno. It's actually in Klinger Winger. That's why I had Klinger Winger in my notes. I didn't see the name of the level.
Oh yeah.
And that's the unicycle level. This is the one where player two's controller will become inactive, so you just kind of die and carry on. Wait till you get past this level, and then you can start your continue in the next level. So I just want to correct myself on that one because whoopsie.
Man, that
But
sucks because this one looked difficult.
this one looked near impossible because this is the one we were talking about earlier, and this is the one where you're on a unicycle and the walls go up, down, left, or right, and you're along the ceiling, along the floor, up and down the walls, and you have to turn 90 degrees with the level as it goes around, and you're being
Mhm.
chased by something called the buzz ball, which turns into the boss in the level. And as you're being chased, it gets closer on the straights, but you get him in the corners. So if you're not perfect on those corners, he'll continuously gain on you. And by the
Right.
end of it, the guy in the playthrough was like almost touching the ball when he got to the last part.
Yes. And that's like not only does it do that, but it gets faster as it goes along. And when you're on the straight, there's no way for you to go any faster. So you're just like hoping that you did the correct, turns in the right amount of time before you get to the straight. And then you just it's almost like doing something and then getting kind of like graded on it. Because whether or not you can make it through all the turns, but you might not make it past the straight, and there's nothing you can do about it, if that makes any sense. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're too far back or the ball's too far or close to you, you're kind of screwed until like if you're on the straight, like you said. But once you get to the end of this, after going a blistering pace with a lot of turns, you end up fighting the buzzball, and it's another generic fight.
yeah, I'm sure it's harder than the playthrough I watched made it look, but they
Oh yeah,
kind of pinned it into the corner and just bashed it a few times, and it was done.
yeah, and I want to say that at this point we're kind of watching the pros do it. So when I say
Yeah,
it's a generic fight, I mean the fight didn't have anything special about it, like no special weapons or anything. It was just it attacks you, you attack it, and whoever beats up who first wins.
it almost kind of seems for these bosses that like if you just get in there right at the perfect time and just get your hits in, you can just hit and hit and hit without the boss being able to like recover enough to start an attack. But you have to know how to do it.
Yeah, and after you beat him, you're going into the final level called the Revolution. And this is why I'm pretty sure my brother at least got to this level, if not beat the game, is because I remembered this level before I saw the playthrough. And this is, uh, game is that? Ghost and Goblins, I think it is, where you're walking up, your character is stationary in the center of the screen and the tower rotates around.
Oh,
This is how this does it. And there's platforms you have to jump up on different sides of the tower. So you're rotating around, fighting enemies and jumping up these platforms. And it looks like a lot of fun.
yeah. I thought this was like just another example of just incredible level design. Just like well designed, well done, Rare. Like I can't even be mad that it's so hard because it's such a good looking game and just such an inventive game.
Oh, yeah. And there's these red clouds that come out of the side every so often. You have to grab basically a pole that's sticking out of the wall there, and the cloud blows. But if you hold on, you just stay there, and then you can continue on. I thought that was kind of a neat little thing because
Yeah,
I kind of would have liked the clouds maybe to be used to blow you up. But then again, at that point, I mean, they're there to be difficult, and they were difficult looking.
yeah, and I can imagine there were some like, well, first of all, the platforms are super narrow, and then there are some super narrow platforms that are also the little trampolines to
Oh
get you to
yeah,
jump higher. So not only jumping higher, making sure you're timing the trampoline jump, but jumping from narrow platform to narrow platform using high jumps is very difficult.
it's fun. Looks fun. But there's also the platforms that rotate around the tower. So you stand on them, and all of a sudden the tower starts rotating. Then you jump up to the next one, and the tower stops. And then you see that platform below you continue rotating. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
It's the different perspective. But after you get to the top of the tower, it's time to take on the Dark Queen. And this actually I found disappointing, to be honest, because
Yeah.
you fight the Dark Queen, she does a tornado attack, you beat her, and there's no second form.
Yeah, I thought
Like,
there was gonna be, and then it just kind of ended.
yeah, I that's the same here. I thought there'd be like some bigger fight or something like that to really kind of put a stamp on the game, but
It
you
wouldn't
fight
necessarily have
her,
to
she
be.
dies.
Yeah, and it's like it wouldn't have to be a hard fight. It just would have to have like a really cool looking sprite or something, you know?
What game are we talking about? Wouldn't have to be a hard what?
Well, no, I mean I'm just saying like none of the boss fights looked. I mean, I didn't make it to too many of them, but the boss fights didn't look to be the most difficult part of this game. So, if you're kind of staying with that pattern, the final boss doesn't necessarily need to be hard. It just would be kind of a cool reward to see something like really neat looking on the screen, I guess. Although they did make I mean, they used the Nintendo graphics to make the boss look kind of hot though.
I mean, for 1991 Nintendo boss, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, she's pretty cute.
Yeah, you're not called the Dark Queen if you're ugly.
You're right.
I mean, like it's not me up there. But yeah, and I guess the one thing that really kind of I don't know when I finish a game of this level, I want the reward to be a good ending. And this one had 7 lines of text explaining how the Dark Queen got away.
Yeah.
And that was kind of to me that's a slap in the face. Like
Yeah, good
I
job.
get they probably use most of the memory in this game to actually build the game, but it just feels like a ripoff. Like, oh, congratulations, you just put yourself through hell. Here's a line of text, and bye.
Yeah. Um I mean, but the bragging rights you could have by beating the game.
Oh
So,
yeah, it should. If you're in the military, you should get a medal or a ribbon on your uniform for beating this game.
right.
It should just be like a little picture of your score.
Oh, actually, the playthrough. Well, I'll send you the link to the playthrough I watched. We should post it in the show notes. But like the the guy or girl, I keep saying that, but they at the end had like straight nines across the score.
Yeah,
So they just basically like it gets to a point where it just maxes out.
you kind of wonder if they use like a cheat or something there to give them infinite health.
Yeah, I don't know because like sometimes those jumps looked like I know that toe probably hit something. Maybe I don't know, but
Yeah, well, I guess in another sense, there are people that can be like Mario Brothers in 2 minutes and 14 seconds or something like that.
yeah, there are
So
speed runs of this game up there too. I didn't watch any, but there's like there was one in the like other videos section, like along the side of YouTube. It was like new world speedrunning record, and the video was like 15 minutes long. It's like, holy shit.
Just like that. That's just insane.
So it's probably the same person I was watching do it, just they used warps instead.
Yeah, and they decided to relax on this full playthrough.
Yeah.
Take their time, if you will.
Right.
But I got some notable things to talk about as well
Yeah.
on my notes here. So feel free to pipe in as I go through. So there's an Amiga version of this game, and had 2 exclusive levels that replaced a couple of other levels. So the
Interesting.
first one was called Potholing, which replaced the turbo tunnels, and it used the turbo jets like in the volcano level.
Okay.
And the second one was Backpacking, which replaced Surf City, which you would have loved. And you
Yeah.
go up the hole like Wookiee hole, but you're using a jetpack instead.
Yeah, I'd go up a Wookiee hole. That sounds fine.
I bet you would, Star Wars fan.
Well, I wonder if actually we could probably this can probably, if you're into the emulation scene, maybe the Amiga version is available for you to try potholing and going up Wookiee holes and all the different holing that you can do.
All the innuendos.
Yeah. That sounds cool though. That I do like the concept of like, cause there is the like the elevator and then the rat race one where you're going down a vertical pipe. I think it would be cool to have um backpacking over Surf City. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it would be cool, but I'll I'll get to it here in a second there, but there was a problem with the Amiga version.
Uh-oh.
The Nintendo version just kind of knocks it out of the water because this game has been ported a couple of times. So in 1993, the Sega Mega Drive or the Genesis got an updated 16-bit version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was put on the Game Boy and called Battletoads and Ragnarok's World and had less levels, and same with the Game Gear version, but it was colored.
Okay.
So,
I can't remember which one, but I had a Battletoads game on my Game Boy when I was a kid, and I don't know if it was this one or a different one.
I'd have to look up, but this might have been the only Game Boy Battletoads that was released.
Then I think that might have been the one I had, but yeah, it was abbreviated and it was not as hard because
Yeah,
I remember getting pretty far into it when I was a kid.
I remember the Game Boy was really marketed towards kids, so a lot of things were toned down for it.
Yeah.
But 1994, the Amiga version that I just talked about was released, but they removed almost all of the in-game music.
What?
Yeah, like the best part of the game was the music, and if you're gonna take it out, why even release the game?
Yeah, the first cut they made was the pause music, I bet. Those bastards.
Son of a bitches. Best pause music out there, except for maybe GoldenEye.
Yeah, that one fucks. That's a
Oh
good
yeah,
one.
GoldenEye is like right up there. Both Rare games, right? So Rare is like the
Yeah,
king of the pause music.
the king of pause music.
And at some point, I'm going to start looking up all the different pause musics out there because most games just like cut the volume, right?
Right.
But Rare gives you something. Rare gives you a little bit of extra.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe I'll suggest that on Retro Hangovers, the flight. Best pause
Oh,
music out there.
that'd be an awesome flight.
Let
Yeah,
the pros take it
yeah,
on.
for sure.
All right, so a couple of facts to finish off here. Little green guys who take your health? They were indeed inspired by Space Invaders. And you can see it. They even have
Yeah.
like the Space Invaders music.
Yeah, I thought those little dudes were bullshit because I was thinking like when I was at first the first time you encounter them is in the speed bike level before you get to the speed bikes.
Yeah.
Um the level that looks wet. Um
The wet level.
and I didn't realize that they were moist. Sorry for everyone who hates that word. I'll say it again. Moist. Um
Lower.
but I didn't realize they were actually taking my health. I was like, oh, they're, whatever. And it took me a second to figure out like, oh no, they've taken my health and I have to fight them to get it back. Like I have to go up and punch them and get them back. So those little bastards.
Yeah, and they only appear twice in the game, but that was a nice little throwback to
Yeah,
Space Invaders.
they're fun.
It was revealed in a comic inside of a 1991 Nintendo Power that Battletoads universe is actually taking place in a Tron-like virtual world.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's like by three gamers who are playing it. Can you imagine being the pimple of this game in the virtual world, and your entire thing is to sit there and wait for the other two to save you?
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. He's
Yeah,
just
what a
kind of there at
terrible
the end.
friggin' game. This game sucks, guys. It's fun. Though considered the hardest level in the game by many, many people, it's been reported that Turbo Tunnels is designed as one of the easiest levels.
Fuck that.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like if that's easy, like, you know, I don't know what these people think hard really is.
Yeah.
Because
No.
that took forever to just get down the beat.
That's one of those things where like I don't know how like I've watched like a little bit of like game design, like little videos and behind the scenes stuff, but like you got to imagine that the people that are designing the levels and know exactly what to expect are like, oh yeah, you just do this, and then it's like, well, people can do that because I can do it, and then they just print it.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever played Mario Maker before and tried to make a level there, it's not as easy as it seems.
No, not at all.
Oh, it is like I remember the first one that came out. I tried to make a 10-second level, and I kept adjusting the level just ever so slightly, and I was able to make it by like 9.99 seconds one time. So it let me post the level up, and then everybody was just like wiping it out of the water. Like, it was like, what the hell is wrong with people? How are you this good? So, anyways, last point I have. There is a more violent version of this game in arcades that Rare made free from Nintendo's influence. Because you remember how Nintendo hated the violence at the first, like with Mortal Kombat and losing the blood and stuff like that. Well, this
Yeah,
game's the
sweat.
same. It
Yeah.
You can find playthroughs online, and I looked at it, and like when you beat the rats up, they turn into bones, and blood squirts all over the place. So
Oh,
obviously, somebody
nice.
had a sense of violence to go with the difficulty.
I love that. Then, like if a game is that difficult, it should have a little bit of violence to it almost because it's
Oh yeah,
like,
you got to get that satisfaction you just don't get in real life.
well, that's where like, you know, you look at a game and the gameplay and maybe it's got a little bit of 16 or 8-bit like ramped up gore, but like clearly that wasn't made for little kids. But otherwise, like little kids look at the box art and see Battletoads and it's like, whoa, Battletoads, cool. And then you get it and it's not the most violent game because there's no gore or anything. But then it's also like really freaking hard and probably designed for like maybe like a kid that's a little bit older or more experienced gamer. So, I mean, maybe
Yeah,
it could have done with a little bit of blood, Nintendo.
yeah, seriously, like grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
These kids are going to see blood in their life anyways. They're all
Will they
going to
ever?
high school. All right, so I've got nothing left to say on this game. Sam, do you have any final thoughts?
uh no, I can't beat it, but
So
goddamn do I respect it.
yeah, this is definitely the game that it earns your respect. It falls under the category of hard but fair. There's nothing in this game that makes me say, "Well, that's just some honky tonk bullshit."
Yeah, you just got to figure out the timing and the jumps and everything.
Yeah. So having said that, what would you give it as a score?
Score out of 10?
Yep.
Um gosh. Like I don't want to just give it a low score cuz I can't beat it. Which I'm not going to do, and I'm not going to give it a high score cuz I think the difficulty does put it out of reach for most people. I would give it like, gosh, it's hard, but I'd give it like I'd give it like a 7. I
Seven.
mean,
Yeah, I was thinking about a six, 6.5. I think I
yeah,
would go.
it's a
But
very good game. It's a very good looking game. It's a very good sounding game.
it's
It's a very
fun.
challenge. It's fun. I mean, you start playing it and it's like, man, if I could get good at this game is a blast. It's a fun game.
Yeah, and it's a game that cost you probably $40 at the time and will last you forever because you'll never be able to.
Yeah.
So that puts it on our tier list at where you think this is going to be an A ranked game, a B ranked, or are we going straight up to S ranked?
No. I would say like I go B with this one. What do you
Go
think?
B. Yeah, I think B is a good spot for it. It's definitely a game I'll play again sometime in my life, but it's not a game I'm going to run to play again. So B
Yeah.
is a good spot for this game.
yeah, it's good. It's well designed. It's not great. It doesn't have the proper. To me, it doesn't have the proper balance of um, just good style and good difficulty to be accessible enough to make it replayable over and over again.
Exactly that. So, anyways, on that note, so we have our B rank game ranked about 6.5 to 7 on the two-person score. That does it again for another episode of Retrotopia. Sam, as always, it's good talking to you every week.
It's been a pleasure, buddy.
All right, so we will talk to you later. And next week we have Turtles 4, Turtles in Time on the Super Nintendo. Till then, take care.